Brother Jim reporting here from Red State Watcher again. Look what we just discovered about A&E and their KKK documentary. It's bad, folks. According to members of the Ku Klux Klan Broadcasting Network, and A&E paid them to fabricate scenes for their documentary. What? Boy, is this world getting crazy or what? Huffington Post, Post, reported members of the Ku Klux Klan who were participating in a now canceled documentary series for A&E are claiming producers paid them to fabricate scenes for the show. The show, Escaping the KKK, a documentary series exposing hate in America, was scheduled to premiere January 10th. A&E canceled the series after learning cash payments were made to, quote, to facilitate access, end quote, to the film's subjects by the production company. This is just a test. TIJAT. The show was initially titled Generation KKK, but A&E changed it to make it clear the film is a work of documentary journalism rather than reality TV/TV entertainment. However, KKK leaders tell Variety that they each were paid hundreds of dollars in cash a day during filming to participate in fabricated scenes designed to fit a predetermined narrative of tension between Klan members and relatives who wanted to get out. KKK leaders also say they were presented with scripted scenarios, encouraged not to file taxes on the cash payments, instructed about what to say on camera, and directed to reenact camera shoots until the production team got what it needed. Multiple sources told Variety the production team even paid for material and equipment to make Nazi swastikas and to construct and burn wooden crosses. One of the featured subjects, Richard Nichols, the Grand Dragon of the KKK, so known as the Tennessee White Knights of the Invisible Empire, said producers encouraged him to use the word N R when being interviewed. Quote, "We were betrayed by the producers and A&E, Nichols said. It was all made up. Pretty much everything we said and did was fake, and because that it is what the film people told us to do and say. Fake news propagated by A&E through the KKK. What do you think? Should A&E suffer consequences for attempting to mislead the public? Oh, I definitely believe they are one of the nasty creatures in that swamp that needs to be drained. Get them out." Moving on, Trump sent to make big moves against Obama. About time. According to incoming White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer, President-elect Trump will repeal a lot of Obama's actions when he enters the White House. The GatewayPundit.com reported in an interview with ABC's, quote, "This Week," Trump's incoming White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer said that President-elect Donald Trump plans to repeal a lot of President Barack Obama's executive actions in his first day in office. Spicer said the Trump administration will immediately, quote, "repeal a lot of regulations and actions that have been taken by this administration over the last 8 years that have hampered both economic growth and job creation."
To Donald Trump, saying while Russia has every right to respond, he's going to wait to work to restore Russia-U.S. relations based on Trump's policies, not Obama's. Trump's response on Twitter: "Great move on delay by V. Putin. I always knew he was very smart." We are joined now by Sean Spicer, the incoming White House Communications Director and Press Secretary, in his first Sunday show interview since being tapped for the jobs by President-elect Donald Trump. Sean, congratulations and thank you for being here.
You bet. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So let's start right with the big news this week from President Obama, imposing those sanctions on Russia, expelling those diplomats. Does President-elect Trump agree with those moves, or will he reverse them once he takes office?
As he said the other day, he's going to sit down with the intelligence committee heads next week, get a full briefing on the situation. I think one of the questions that we have is why the magnitude of this. When you look at 35 people being expelled, 2 sites being closed down, the question is that response in proportion to the action taken? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Well, you have to think about that. That's nothing that we haven't seen in modern history. And when we look back,
Well, we've seen
No,
diplomats.
but hold on. Let's look at this. Yeah. In 2015, China took over 1 million records, sensitive data. People like me who had worked in the government at any time, classified our personal information, where we lived, things that we had written down on our applications or on our security clearances, and not a White House statement wasn't even issued. No action publicly was taken. Nothing. Nothing was taken when millions of people had their private information, including.
And why? Because Obama doesn't care about America. He only cares about one thing, his agenda to destroy America. So when China hacked into all of our personal information, go at it. And American rights are for sale, and the Second Amendment is for sale. Just have at it. That's the way Obama is. He's nothing but a destruction master.
Putting information on security clearances that was shared. Not one thing happened. So there is a question about whether there's a political retribution here, whether it's versus a diplomatic response.
So it sounds like you think these measures may be too much.
Well, no. What I think
reversing them is on the table.
The president-elect needs to sit down with the heads of the intelligence communities next week and get a full briefing on what they knew, why they knew it, and whether or not the Obama administration's response was in proportion to the actions taken. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. We need to have that briefing first. But I would argue that if you look at our history, you haven't seen a response like that in modern history for any action. Well, and when you look at the fact that China did something so egregious in 2015 and the White House did nothing publicly, not even issue a statement, except they sent everyone who had worked in the government a letter saying you get free monitoring of your credit. Right. That's all they did. They took action by sending a letter to us, not even taking an action against China. So what Russia did, we have to wait and see, but it'd be interesting.
It's interesting, though, because we've seen near universal support for these moves from Republicans in Congress. In fact, Mitch McConnell called them a good first step and suggested that Republicans in the Senate may actually move to impose stiffer sanctions as punishment for Russia. Does President-elect Trump oppose those efforts?
I think what he's going to do, as I said, is sit down.
Let's remember, this is ABC. It's all leftists.
With the heads of the intelligence committees, get a full briefing on what they knew, whether or not they, and then he can determine whether or not the actions were taken. But as you saw,
you see, folks, what Sean Spicer is doing is trying to support Donald Trump, chief in command, with the leftist media here, ABC News. Okay, and what has Donald Trump already announced, and Sean has backed up as well, that Donald Trump's going to speak to he's not going to speak to the public through the MSM. He's going to use Twitter. It was just announced today. With 45 million people attached to listening to him on Twitter and other media sites, that's the way he's going to do it. Yeah. So, looks like my program decided to take a heat crash. But anyway, so that's the truth of it. And Sean Spicer's trying to fight against the one that Donald Trump says I'm not going to fight with anymore. I'm going to just Twitter straight to the public. Yeah. So Sean is basically doing it the old-fashioned way, which is going out. You see, the MSM has taken the biggest dive ever by Donald Trump. And it's about time. As I reported today, this biggest dive is that he's not going through them anymore. Yeah, they've showed themselves out to be total libetard, retard, reprobates too many times. So that's the end of it. So I'm going to move on to the next story. Of course, I leave everything in the description box for you under categorized for each name of each story. If you want this, then you can just look under the heading Trump sent to make big moves against Obama. President Trump's New Year's resolution is pretty obvious. Well, we heard about this. Jack Posobiec, reporter. Mr. Trump, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Trump, without skipping a beat, to make America great again. That's his main focus. Focus, 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 focus all the time. So that's going to be it for this report. Thank you for listening, and there will be news coming up soon.